Here we go, it's the Kopite Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kopite Podcast, where Liverpool have just defeated Wolverhampton Wanderers by 4-0. I can't get my words out because I'm speechless. I didn't expect that before the game. I'm Jay Pearson with Mick and we are delighted to be joined. He might not be delighted to be with us. It's Gully from Wolves Fancast and Musings from Molyneux. Mate, I know it's a bit of a shit time to join us, but we really appreciate you jumping on with us, mate.
No worries. Always happy to talk football, whichever way the result goes. So, yeah.
Well, we are absolutely delighted to have you with us, pal. Mick, I'll just come to you first. It just goes to show you that football just throws up surprises all the time, mate, because we were talking in the pre-match how we knew it was going to be a tight game because Wolves are such a fantastic side. And I just didn't see that coming, mate. Did you?
Not at all. I mean, we touched on before, once we seen the lineups, we were a bit more hesitant because Wolves have got so much quality, but you could see obviously they're missing. Jimenez is a big miss up top for them, isn't it? So, but like the pace they've got up that top end of the pitch, I was worried about them getting in behind the likes of Podence and Neto, and who are quick and agile and they can get in behind against defenders, and we handled them really well. Like from the first minute to last, we dominated, and that's what we wanted to see for a long time, and that's the type of performances we can put in. It's just obviously we haven't had the missing a lot of personnel lately, so it's obviously to be expected that we're not on 100% top form defensively. But that was another statement tonight of how good we can be, albeit missing huge players.
My mic cut out then. Good call, mate. We obviously before the game, the way you've been playing and coming off the back of a result against Arsenal away from home, you must have been coming to Anfield quite confident, still given the fact that Liverpool have got a tremendous home record. But what was your feelings going into the game?
Yeah, I mean, for a start, Arsenal really aren't very good, guys. So I don't know how much a win against Arsenal means these days. But but I think we always feel confident regardless of who we're playing. We've always shown up against the top teams in the league and done ourselves justice, which you guys yourselves will have known, especially I think in the game at Molyneux last season, that we're always going to give you a game. There's never really too much in it. It just seems to be a bit of a quality issue at the top end of the pitch, I think, which seems to get you guys through. But today, just to see how easily it seemed to be the case that you were scoring goals, I'm really disappointed in the way we defended for sure. It just seemed like you didn't have to work too hard to put the chances away that you did.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the games that we've played against you boys previously, because like you said, you are such a difficult side to play against, and even last season it was. We were very lucky to get a result against you at home. It was barring a VAR decision, which was unfair on you. And it seems obviously we'll talk about VAR again in a minute. Yeah. But like I said, the confidence that is going through this Wolves team, especially over the last couple of years, the way you are in the table at the minute, it is a shame to see that type of performance, because I would have thought you might have been able to get a goal against us, given the way our defensive line is at the minute. But it just seems we're growing in confidence. But I think obviously the scoreline does reflect the game, obviously, but it's a little bit soul crushing for you, a little bit.
Yeah, I think going back to the starting lineups, Klopp's obviously been banging on about the schedule and players being available to him. I think I'll defer to you guys on this, but I still think he probably picked his strongest 11, didn't he? That's available to him, and that goes to show the kind of respect that he has for us and the way we've played against you guys previously. So, it still required, a full, 100% on it Liverpool to go out and make sure they've done the job. But again, like I say, I think what I will say is that, yes, it was 4-0. I'm struggling a little bit to think of chances beyond the 4 goals, really. There weren't too many clear-cut ones. And like I say, again, it just felt like we allowed you to score the goals very easily. The first one always makes a massive difference to any game. You could see before the first one went in that there really wasn't too much in it. Neither team really wanted to give too much away. You guys still probably had the better of the play, but once Cody makes that mistake, the game just opens up entirely then, and we've got to come out and play in a manner that really doesn't suit us, I think. So it really we're on a hide into nothing after that, I think.
No, very well summed up, mate. Mick, come to you about the first goal. Obviously, Mohamed Salah on 24 minutes. Ball played over the top, nice little dink over, and obviously, as all good strikers do, the gamble just in case there is a mistake. And unfortunately for Conor Cody, it was a mistake from him. But a nice little cheeky little finish from Salah. Pleased that he got on the score sheet, but obviously it's a bit gutting for Cody, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, I don't know. He's obviously thought he's got more time on the ball than he actually has, and he's tried to chest it down, obviously, and then he's thinking in his head, right, I'll play this out right back or hit it as hard as I can downfield, and he's just not realised that Mo Salah's just jinked in behind him, and that's just Mo Salah all over. Like those type of spaces, he's just so dangerous, and when he's 1-on-1 in front of goal, you just know he's going to score, and yeah, it made up for him to get back on the score sheet after. I think he hasn't scored for a couple now, has he? So it's nice to see him back on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Like I said, it was Brighton goal got chopped off, unfortunately, wasn't it? So, but yeah, I think, Gully, when we look at the goal from your perspective, it's bad to give away a goal like that, isn't it? Really, because Conor Cody has been absolutely fantastic for you boys over the last few years, and it just, I was gutted for him at the time, obviously, but with him being an ex-Liverpool player, and you don't like to see that. Obviously, we benefited from it, but yeah, I'd be frustrated if that was us, mate.
Yeah, all the Agent Cody shouts are going to be coming in now, aren't they? Obviously, because done you boys a favour there. But yeah, honestly, he's not always been the most assured defender. A lot of the conversation around him was about his passing and his leadership and his organisational skills. But this season, he's not missed a beat. He's been unbelievable in terms of how assured he's been. He's obviously transitioned into a back four now with us, and he's not put a foot wrong. And for that to happen in the way that it has this season, it was a real shock to the system to see it happen. Because I think if there's one thing you should be, aware of as a defender, it's that Liverpool forwards are going to make runs in behind you. It happens. Just expect it. Regardless of how much time you got on the ball. If there's one thing you can guarantee, it's Salah, Mane, in particular, the two of them are going to make runs in behind their full-backs or in the centre halves, and just a real error in judgment there for sure.
It was indeed. Mick, obviously not long afterwards, there's an incident, obviously, in front of the Kop, and Conor Cody again at the centre of it when he goes down under a challenge from Sadio Mane. My first reaction to it was, the way I see a high foot now in football. If a high foot is a high foot, if the player is still stood up and he's at his natural height, but if you're bending down for the ball or anything like that, and the boot comes close, then it winds me up, that rule anyway. But that's for another podcast. But obviously, the way he goes down is a little bit theatrical, and then the VAR gets involved. He says to the ref, "You need to go and have a look at it." So you think, right, well, the ref's already given the penalty, so that means he's going to have a look at it. It looks good in our favour, and then you see it, and you're a bit like, disappointed. Now for me, and we'll do the Liverpool perspective on it first. The mistake Conor Cody's made there, he's still playing for Wolves, and he still needs to make. So it's in the back of his mind psychologically that he needs to make it up to them for the mistake he made. Was that going through his head, or let's just tell me your initial thoughts when you first did the challenge?
Well, initially, obviously, when you see it in real time, I thought it's a pen because it happens so fast. And I'm thinking, why is Mane trying to do an overhead kick in his own box there? He's just asking for trouble. So I thought, oh, God, penalty. But then when you see it on the, obviously, slow-mo and VAR, he's pulled out at the exact right time. And Cody's obviously expecting the contact. I'm trying to think of reasons why he's gone down like that. Obviously, he's maybe expected Mane to absolutely clatter him. And he's just trying to get out the way, and it's just looked like in real time, it's looked like a pen. But that's why VAR has been brought in for situations like that where we can get the decisions right. Like, we don't want to see obviously all this crap with toenails offside and all the minutiae and all that shit we've been seeing recently. But for decisions like this, where if it was the other end of the pitch and if it was Salah had done that or whatever, and then you see VAR, you'd say, yeah, that's exactly why VAR is there, because these details need to be ironed out, and yeah, that was VAR working at its best for me.
Yeah, and Gully, from your perspective, mate, could you argue with what had happened, or you just thought with Connor's being a bit silly there?
No, I wouldn't argue with it. I think it's a fair enough decision. What I will say on the referees, but I find that referees often will just give something with it in the back of their mind, knowing that someone's going to have a look at it, and if if it is the case that they get it overturned, then that's fine. You know, you still reach the right decision at the end of the day. So it's not really a problem. I almost find though that these days players are looking to, rather than take a touch and get a shot off in the box, take a touch and go down. And it's a bit of a, you know, it's a bit of a disease almost these days that, you know, forwards are looking to kind of take advantage of, rather than, you know, actually score a goal. That, you know, that's ultimately what we should be looking to do here. You know, I think you saw it with the Sterling situation yesterday as well, where, yeah, you'd probably call it a penalty, but at the same time, he's got a yard. Just go and crack a shot off, mate. Stay on your feet and score the goal yourself. Why do you feel the need to go and put the ball on the penalty spot just to score? It really frustrates me, but I'm a defender by trade, so I will say that.
I think, glad you're on the show. Go on, Mick. What was you going to say?
It's kind of just like the what was it, the Leeds and Chelsea game yesterday as well. That was like a carbon copy of the Andy Robertson one against Brighton. Just because he doesn't go down, he doesn't get a penalty, which we don't want to see people diving. But the only way people are getting penalties and free kicks if they dive. So you're creating yourself a vicious circle, because you're making people go, right, well, I'll dive to get a penalty next time.
Exactly.
That's the beast you're creating, and that's what we don't want. So yeah, totally. It's really frustrating.
It is. One of the people that I really thought would have frustrated us a lot today was Adama Traore, and although he did get, you know, quite close to the byline a few times and whipped him some good balls, one of the chances where he was heavily involved in was Daniel Podence when the chip for Kelleher, and he just managed to get a fingertip to it. Obviously, goal, if that goes in, it's a completely different game then at the end of the day, but it was a great save by our understudy keeper. But again, there were chances for Wolves in that first half.
Yeah, we'll always pose a threat on the break. Again, I think, you know, we've spoken about Jimenez not being available, but it felt like we lacked a little bit of belief in ourselves, I think, in the final third, just because, you know, I was thinking about it during the game, and, you know, any of us who have ever played, you know, you turn up on a Sunday morning, you look around the dressing room, and you either get a lift from some of the other players that are around you, or you kind of drop your heads and think, oh, we're in for one here today. And I think the absence of Jimenez kind of just seemed to knock the confidence of some of the other forward players, just because they know if they put a cross in, it's 5'4" Podence who's in the box, rather than, you know, 6'3" Jimenez. And I'm sorry, but Podence is not going to be winning anything, and we still seem to kind of, you know, employ this tactic of getting out wide and putting crosses in, which didn't really seem to work for us.
No. What's the latest on Jimenez, by the way?
Well, the latest we've had is that he's coming out of hospital this week. There's no indication at all of when he's going to be back training or playing or anything. To be honest, I don't think any of us expect it to be anytime soon. But we're just pleased to hear that he is recovering. He does seem to be, you know, on the right track, and you know, at least his health is where it should be, I think, and that's what we've heard anyway. So
yeah, absolutely, and you know, everyone. From a Liverpool perspective, obviously, mate, I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter. Loads of people are sending the best to him because such a fantastic player, and it's not fair for him to be out, because it's great to watch him play football. Mick, obviously, there's just touching on the Neco Williams situation. Obviously, we spoke quite heavily about him in the build-up show, playing it right back. First half, he got caught out a couple of times, but I thought overall the first half was very, very good from him.
Yeah, and I think it was after the Salah goal, you could just see him start to, like, he's still feeling his way into this team. You can see that, and that's to be expected because he's still 19 years old. Like, and he's covering for Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's our main source of all creativity, and he's having to come in there and try and replicate that, which is impossible, really, because no one can do that in world football, I don't believe. But yeah, he's done great. Like, you can't, like, two clean sheets in a row now. Same for Kelleher. Like, you can't ask any more from him. Like, he was getting a lot of help from Gini Wijnaldum, especially second half up against the Adama Traore, which anyone needs, because Adama Traore is just unbelievable. But he done well, and he got a couple of blocks in it and there. So, like, for me, he played it nice and easy into feet, and everything he was doing, he was showing more and more confidence as the game wore on for me. So
yeah,
like, and then seeing Trent obviously come on towards the end is great, and then the assist towards the end is just unbelievable. But yeah, if Neco Williams can put in performances like that and start to be used in more of a rotation manner, then he's going to be great for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Just obviously on the conversation of fullbacks, there's no, you know, Keanu Hoover wasn't playing, and obviously he didn't get on. What's been the story with him since he's moved to Wolves?
I don't think he was necessarily lined up as someone to come straight into the team. What we tend to do with new signings anyway is just really try and bed them into the system. We are quite rigid and stringent with the way we play, so it's a period of on the training ground, making sure you're getting used to your patterns of play, your positioning, and the other thing is he's seen as a versatile option for us. I think Nuno likes a small squad. Yeah, you won't see more than like 17, 18 proper first team players, and he'll be included in that. And each player has to be able to kind of do a couple of roles, and he's seen as a wing back, a full back, and a centre half, I think. So not really much to report, to be honest, though, I have to say.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. We always like to see what happens with our older players, don't we, Mick? It's always a good thing for us to talk about. But obviously, if we go into the second half now, on 58 minutes, Gini Wijnaldum scores an absolute peach, doesn't he, Mick? I mean, the amount of people that have been crying for Gini Wijnaldum to score goals like he does for Holland, well, he's just answered all those questions right there, hasn't he? Obviously, everyone knows that he plays a different role for Liverpool than he does for Holland, but, mate, what a finish into that top corner. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's just capped off like the last, I don't know how many games where he's just been absolutely phenomenal. Like, just energy is just out of this world. He's just up and down all game. And it was just one of them moments where it was like it was like a 3-on-3, I think, and it was Mane was overlapping, and you're like, go on, just slot Sadio through and we'll score. And then you're like, as he's about to hit it, I'm like, no, don't shoot. And then obviously it flies top corner, and you're like, oh yeah, well then, great goal. But yeah, it's just perfect for him, like the way he's been playing recently. And then to cap it off with that, and obviously Virgil was in the crowd as well. You could see him run over to Virg and do the little celebration. And yeah, he was boss all game again. Like, and that performance was another reason why we need to get his contract all sorted, because obviously I think he's free to leave next summer, isn't he? And there'll be an absolute whole host of clubs wanting to sign him on recent form, because he's been absolutely class. So I'm hoping that I'll get sewn up sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. And goalie, like I said, mate, you can't really argue with that goal. I think as good as goalkeeper Patricio is, he's never going to get to that, was it?
No, it was a lovely finish. I think more in the build-up, it was kind of it broke down from one of our attacks, I think, and blink and you'll miss them. It's, suddenly you've got 3 or 4 players flooding forward and we've only got a couple, and you just kind of wonder how you kind of find yourself in that position. But that's just, transition. When you're that quick on the break with the players that you guys have got, you don't really stand a chance, and it just comes down to the quality of the finish then, which was perfect.
Yeah, was indeed. And then not long after that, Mick, obviously 10 minutes later, just shy of, Joel Matip pops in with a header, which is just great to see Joel Matip score, because everyone loves him with the no context Joel Matip stuff, and it's just absolutely brilliant. But the build up to the game, to the goal, the amount of passes before it was just incredible. And I can't wait for the stat to see how many we get from it, but also as well for the same for the goal with unfortunately it was Semedo that had scored the goal, but with the pass from Trent was just unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you don't expect anything less. Like I said before, he's our main source of creativity, and the fact that we're still doing so well without him has been testament to how good this team is. But yeah, to see him come back home was great. And then the thing is, he makes these passes look easy. Like afterwards, you think, oh yeah, that was obviously the obvious pass. But then when you think about it, like it's perfectly weighted into the right area where Semedo's got. He's caught in about 7 different minds what to do, and obviously Salah and Mane were on top of him, and then it's just slotted into the bottom corner. But yeah, it was boss to see him back, and yeah, can't wait to see more of him. And we need him in the coming games, especially with the Spurs coming up.
Yeah, so I mean, like we said before the game, Mick, with the build up to it, Trent did get the minutes that we said he would. Does he now start against Midtjylland, or does he come on for half an hour against Midtjylland, or do you just leave him now to play Fulham?
I don't know. It's difficult. I honestly don't know. I don't know. It literally depends what. Like we've topped the group, so he could maybe play a half and then have a half each with Neil Williams. That might be the most perfect thing. But just it doesn't. I don't know who will start and who will come off the bench. I think it'll be a half each though. I think that'll be the scenario now. Yeah, he came on today and looked really good, and more minutes in the legs against Midtjylland will set us up nicely for Fulham. So yeah. Should be good.
It was nice to get Cater on as well, get him some minutes, because it was something that we'd missed a lot. And Gully, to be fair, mate, when we were chatting about the game before, and we were saying like we didn't expect to see Trent or Cater, given the fact that we were expecting, you know, a much tougher game against Wolves. But when you see that we were about to bring Trent on and all that sort of stuff, what from an opposition fan's perspective, is it like, oh, for God's sake, they're bringing him on now? Is that what it's like?
To be fair, I think the game was already gone. What I will say is, whenever we've played you guys, I found Trent to be a bit liable defensively, but I think Williams today looked a better defender to me from the limited time I've seen of him. Kind of going backwards, he seemed pretty tidy, and he, like you say, he's blocking the crosses in one-on-one situations. He wasn't really getting done. Whereas with Trent, I feel like you can get at him a little bit. But obviously, you know, the cross for the goal. That's him. That's just him. You know, in a nutshell, isn't it? That's what you're getting from him. Even if he does make the odd mistake going backwards, you know, you can compensate for that when he's coming up with that kind of ammunition for the forwards. But yeah, it's one we're just gonna have to write off, I think, on this occasion for sure.
True, mate. Yeah. But like I said, you know, when you look at it, the chances that you had, like I said, our goalkeeper had a cracking game yet again, and we're so happy for that, because obviously you get so nervous when there's a different goalkeeper than Alisson, because obviously he's such a world-class goalkeeper and everyone gets nervous. But I think game by game with Kelleher now, we're sort of, you know, those worries are easing off us. I mean, shout out to whoever changed his shirt at half time, because Mick, I don't know if you noticed.
I did.
First half, his name was spelt wrong on the back.
It's spelt wrong, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, it was Kelleher, wasn't it? I seen it. I went out for a corner and I was like, have I just seen that right?
But again, you know, you had some chances in that second half, didn't you? I mean, I can't remember who it was on the left-hand side who'd had that point-blank save with his knee. But again, if that goes in, it's a telling half for Liverpool, because we have struggled a little bit recently when we've either gone a goal down or we've gone a goal up and then you score against us as well. You did have some chances, though.
Yeah, I think going back to the goalkeeper thing, we see it with Patricio, where he's not going to make worldy saves every single time, but he's a very solid goalkeeper, and I think that's what you ask for as a minimum from your goalkeeper. Just be safe, be sound, and that's what Kelleher was today. He didn't make any bad decisions or rash decisions whatsoever. He was tidy with the ball at his feet, and you know, when you guys have seen what Adrian has been capable of over the last couple of seasons, yeah, I'm sure that's pretty reassuring for you guys. But I just don't think in any way, shape or form we've done ourselves any justice at all today, and it's really disappointing. I mean, there were even little things like 50-50s where we were just getting out battled and out muscled, and you know, that's like cardinal sin as a football fan. That's the one thing you can't really make an excuse for, I think, and that it just felt today we were just feeble, and it is really disappointing to see.
It is a really good point you just made then, because like I said, we were expecting such a tougher game against Wolves, because whether we play, like we said before, whether we play them home and away, we always sort of like get a really good game from you. But I mean, like you said, on the flip side to it, it's not like it's any different to anybody else coming to Anfield, because, like, you know, the touchwood, the record's still intact. We haven't been beaten in the league since 2017, and Clive Tyldesley rightly said, you know, Alisson and Mane and Salah have never, and Robertson have never experienced a league defeat at Anfield. So is it one of them things where you just think, right, well, we know we're better than the way we played tonight, but we got beat at Anfield, so what? We just move on and then we just focus on the next game?
Honestly, no. I think it's come to the point where we see ourselves as a top club within the Premier League now. It's been 3 seasons, and it's not the case that we go into certain games where we think, you know what, whatever we get from here is a bonus. I think we plan to win every single game we go into, whether that's, you know, to start with maybe being a bit negative or, you know, just sitting a bit deeper. The plan is still to win the game. It just comes from a different kind of, you know, tactic mentality. But today, just, you know, again, going back to the first goal, an error has really kind of just, you know, done us in. And it's not like us to kind of give a goal away so easily. But like you say, going to Anfield is always going to be tough. We always fancy ourselves, and that's something that will never change, I think, with Nuno at the helm, with the kind of talent that we've got at our disposal. You know, we've got a really good squad, but it just didn't show up at all.
Yeah, I mean, we all have days like that, and we've seen that loads of times when we've played away from home. Mick, and the reason why I asked all that question wasn't to be sort of big-headed about Anfield or anything like that. It was just to show that every team in the Premier League, regardless of whether it's coronavirus or anything that's put a stop to it and changed the dynamic, every team knows that they can beat each other on any given day. We see it all the time, don't we? But when we look at the record that we've currently got at Anfield, again, I expected a very, very tricky game, and again, we've blitzed Wolves there, and the record continues, and it's we've done it without the fans, with a weakened side, and then today, just touching on the fans being back in the ground. Now that was just a massive result to give the fans, wasn't it?
It was perfect. Like I think there's like coming. Well, obviously, we looked at the lineups before and we were worried because Wolves, like we all know how good Wolves are. Like they're not going to come to any away ground and just try and make up the numbers. They've got quality all over the pitch, and I was worried about the counter attacks, especially with the speed. But I think the stars have kind of aligned here, that we've got starting to get a few players back from injury. We've got the lads in the stadium. Like having 2,000 back at Anfield was just absolutely huge, and it's to start seeing that those numbers filtering back into the stadiums around the country is great to see. Doesn't matter who you support. So I think that having that gave everyone an extra boost. Like you could see the confidence, like we said, like after. I think it was after the Salah goal, like Necho Williams, and like we haven't even touched on Curtis Jones yet, who I thought was absolutely terrific again. Like the industry put in midfield for him just keeps us ticking over. He's been absolutely great, and he's another kid who's like 19 years old, and he's coming in and just proving how good he is, and it just proves how much strength we've got in depth, that we can put these youngsters in there and still tick over as an absolute machine. And it's just like, can never give Jurgen Klopp enough credit for that.
No, that's true, mate. And again, with that as well, Gully, I'll come to you on this from an opposition point of view. Given obviously the current situation with COVID, and then obviously the season the way it is, and it's a little bit more crammed than it is normally, the game every 3 days now, and it just feels like it'd be like that to the end of the season. From your perspective as a fan that isn't obviously connected with Liverpool, is it the amount of injuries that Liverpool have had is very well documented? Do you feel that even though with these injuries that a lot of Premier League clubs are either feeling the pinch themselves? Like, is that the same thing at Wolves where you just think, oh my God, any day now we could just get an injury that could to a top player because of how busy the schedule is?
I mean, it's not something you'll hear the management speak about. I don't think I think Nuno's probably spoken about the scheduling and the whole idea that, you know, football as a concept isn't necessarily the most important thing at this moment in time. He's very adamant that, you know, he didn't want to start until fans were able to come back and watch the games. I think that's something that he's spoken quite candidly about. So he's not. I don't think he's happy about the situation. Full stop. I don't think anybody who is being tasked to run a football club with this kind of scheduling is. We've probably, you know, had a year off Europe at the best of times, really, you know, given the fact that, you know, we didn't quite manage to qualify for the Europa League last season. But it's the cards we've been dealt. I guess it's just a situation that we've all got to try and manage as best we can. We can all sympathise with you know, every week. I find it amazing that every week there's a Champions League round and there's a Europa League round, and I just can't get around to watching any football in the week just because I can't be bothered. There's too much going on at the moment, and honestly, it's frightening how much football is actually on at the moment. But that's just the you know, the nature of the beast, unfortunately, and it's not only going to stop, you know, once the Euros are over. You know, at the end of the season, it's frightening. But what do we want? You know, as football fans, we want the football, but then, you know, it's as a profession, as professionals, if you was asked to work in these kind of conditions in your own job, I think you'd probably have the right to moan about it in many ways as well, if you've been asked to put in the hours that these guys are putting in. Yeah,
no, it's a really good point that Gully just made there, Mick, because like you said, there's a lot of people that say, oh, well, footballers get paid X amount, they should be playing every single day and all that. Well, you can't do that, can you?
No, I mean, it's like, it is like the fact that we're seeing fans back in the stadium so soon. I don't think any of us really expected that, obviously, with the tiers coming in and around the country, that has allowed that to happen. But yeah, it's we just need to be happy that there's footy at all. Obviously, no one could ever predicted like pandemic coming along in March and all football comes to a halt, and we're all, obviously as Liverpool fans, we were worrying that the season was going to get voided, and then obviously finally comes back to it. But the fact that we've got fans within the stadiums within the same calendar year is a bit mad, really. That I didn't ever see that happening.
Can I just ask, guys? Do you know people who were at the ground today, and like what the experience was like? Have you spoken to people about that? Or?
I spoke to a couple of people who just said obviously there was a lot more in terms of checking, getting into the ground. I haven't spoken to anybody since the game's finished, obviously jumping straight on here. But beforehand, it was a case of there was more rigorous checks and everything. But none of that. It seemed like it was like a long wait, and it was just the sheer excitement of getting into the ground and through the turnstiles and just being dead excited about it. Someone texted me at half-time saying I've got goosebumps, like just the way they're surrounded, looking at the pitch and surrounded by people chanting. So again, it's just a massive, massive positive, isn't it, for everybody? And like I said, Gully, the more fans that get into these grounds, the better, and the sooner the better.
Yeah, I think what we'll find now is once they prove that this is working and we're not, getting an R rate increase or whatever it is off the back of football. I'd like to think that things will open up a little bit more, and football clubs can prove that they've got the facilities to manage this kind of situation.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you'll agree, 2,000 within Anfield, it's pretty minuscule really as a number. There's obviously scope to increase that, and for atmosphere reasons, for being able to give people the personal, experience of being able to get back into the ground. We all know how important football is for so many people around this country. It can't happen soon enough, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mick, just going on that, what you just said there, you're touching on the fact that we're watching the game and then we're hearing "You'll Never Walk Alone" belted out, which again was fantastic. And big shout out to Amazon Prime just leaving it so we could enjoy it for the first time, which was great. And there was loads of different songs that appeared as well, not just the usual ones that you get from the crowd noise. There's some really unique stuff that we'd heard that we've not heard since March, and it was just so nice to see it. And it just feels like it's taken a different route, and I think the players got a buzz out of it as well, didn't they? Because that performance was just incredible.
Yeah, well, I think if you play that game again without those 2,000 in there, you get a very different result. I think anyway, because there's no understating how much that gives everyone a lift. Doesn't matter how many, and you could hear everything, like all the, like you said, Jay, all the usual chants that we know and love so well. You can hear them even with just 2,000 in there. So but like after Bobby's, I think he nutmegged someone, and then everyone started singing the Bobby song like that. That's been missing for so long, and like that's such a huge part of what football is, like giving someone confidence. That obviously Bobby's not been in the greatest confidence maybe this season, maybe the last couple of games he looked a lot better today as well. He looked great. So it's just little things like that. What, like, I know there's a lot of like, it might be a bit cliche now, like everyone goes out Anfield, this amazing stadium, the atmosphere is amazing, and it is. And I think maybe it's said too much that people think, oh, why isn't it amazing all the time? And it's not amazing all the time, but when it is, and like obviously on occasions like tonight where fans were back in the stadium, it was an occasion. And I think you can see that in the end result. Yeah,
absolutely. And Gully, what's the situation for Wolves? Is it, forgive me for not knowing the tier structure for where you guys are, but are you closer to getting fans back? Are you ready to get fans back?
Well, we're currently tier 3, so it's not something that we're contemplating at the moment. We'll see once the government make any decisions on reviewing the tiers. But
fingers crossed.
I guess, yeah, fingers crossed. We're just dealing with whatever situation we're in at the moment, and when we hear more, we'll obediently turn up at the ground expecting a ticket.
Good stuff, mate. That's the thing, isn't it, Mick? Because you look now and everyone's saying, well, is it an advantage to some sides? Because you look at the performance from Liverpool tonight, and it was 4-0 in the way Matip screamed into the crowd when he'd scored his goal. It probably did give them a little bit of a lift, and you sort of look at it, you think, like, well, it's going to be shit for Wolves when they play Aston Villa next week at home, because then they can't have fans in the ground, and it is a catch-22 situation, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think we just need to accept it as it comes. Like, we're lucky to have any footy. The fact that we've got fans in there, like, I understand anyone saying it can be an advantage, because I thought it was tonight for us. And you can, like I said, you can see that in the result, and many other games throughout the rest of the season where home fans can have fans in there. Home going to give you, even if it's 1% more, it's still an advantage. But I don't think we can really complain in terms of the broader picture, because it's just nice to see fans back in the stadium. And this year and this season's just one of them where, like, we've already seen, like, us getting battered 7-2 by Villa. Like, when does that ever happen? That was just absolutely crazy. And like, just results like that we'll probably never see again. Once the obviously fans are starting to come back on the stadium now, I imagine next season we'll be in a position maybe to, I don't know what type of percentage will be allowed in, but this season will be the first part of this season will be like one where you look back on and go, wow, like if we win, say we win the league, for example, you can look back and go, but you got beat 7-2 by Villa and got absolutely battered everywhere, and you're like, yeah, like that is just what the world in a nutshell at the minute.
Yeah, it is. It's true. But if we look forward to next week now for Wolves now, you're at home to Aston Villa. Bounce back after this week. Just put it behind you now and just that's it. Focus on Villa now and getting the 3 points next week.
Yeah, they're not ones to dwell on a result, to be fair, and you won't find us going a few games without winning or without, you know.
It's true.
One thing we won't do is I'd put a bet on us now probably to not lose next week at least. You know, whether we draw or win is a different matter altogether, but we'll shore it up for sure. You know, four goals conceded in 90 minutes is you know, it's like a red rag to a bull with Nuno. He likes a clean sheet, believe me. You know, and yeah, sometimes
such a good manager.
So yeah, he is. Could be quite stubborn to the point of, you know, infuriating us, to be honest. But he recently changed to a back four, which I think a lot of us have been calling for because we had looked a bit blunt in attack. Yeah. I was actually counteracting that in a bit of a preview last week by saying we should have gone back to a back three for the game today, just because I thought we'd looked a little bit more secure. But yeah, and yeah, what do I know? But yeah, it's you know. The Liverpool game isn't going to define our season at the end of the day. We'll get back on the horse, and Villa as a team, we obviously fancy ourselves against any team anyway. But I think that's a good game for us to get back into it. It's just how big an impact, you know, Jimenez not being available to us is remains to be seen. But today we didn't play with a proper striker. Fabio Silva coming on, he's a young lad, and he's got a lot of work to do in terms of developing his game, but he is a natural, you know, penalty box player. And when balls are flying into the box, you need someone like that in there. And whether he's young or he's inexperienced, if he's got that instinct, that's that can only be an advantage when you got wingers like we have.
It's a really, really good point. And like I said, I'm just looking at the table now. You're currently, obviously, after the weekend's games, it's 10th now with 17 points. At the end of the day, mate, it's so close now that, you know, it's another 3 points puts you up to 5th, depending on whatever results happen and stuff like that. So it's still so early days, isn't it, for you to secure that European place? And what is for you as a Wolves fan? What is your ultimate goal for this season?
I think there's no reason why we can't try and establish ourselves as a top 6 club. I think we're seeing with the likes of Arsenal and the way they've kind of fallen away as an entity, really, that there's a gap there. I don't think Leicester are necessarily the most brilliant side either. You know, there's a few teams in there that we can more than match, and you know, with good coaching, with a good squad, and you know, just you know, being able to implement that properly. You know, we've shown we can get results against pretty much any team in the league. So we will be going for that top 6 for sure, I think.
Yeah, well, I make you. They are establishing themselves like that, and like Gully said it earlier on, that is the aim now. They have to establish themselves as a you know, top 10, top 6 team.
Well, for me, I never underestimate Wolves. Like, they've got, like I said, I was worried about this game because I know how much quality they've got, and like we know Jimenez is the focal point for the attack. So missing him is huge. Like, it can't be understated how huge that is, because he is like such a quality player. Like, he's the amount of goals he scores is ridiculous. Like, he's such a talent. So missing him was always going to have an effect. So obviously, once you get him back into the picture, obviously, like we're on 24, usually on 17. So 27 points difference between first and 10th. So that just shows you like what this type of season's like. So once you get Jimenez back into the team, like, there's no reason why you can't be at least top 6. That's why I always see Wolves as top 6, top 7 every season, because that's how much you've obviously improved since you came up, and the players you've got like could play for any team in the league and be one of the top players. That's how good I highly rate Wolves.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah.
Very well said, mate. And before we finish, Gully, just can you just sum up Diogo Jota for us?
You know, honestly, regardless of the fact he doesn't play for us, one of my favourite subjects to talk about is Diogo Jota. I've been reminding everyone, he's become a bit of a banned subject across Wolves Twitter. But every time he scores, I'm banging his drum because people were writing him off towards the end of last season because he had a bit of a drought. But we were a negative team towards the end of last season, and I knew straight away, as soon as he was going into a team creating lots of chances, that he was going to score lots of goals. He's an unbelievable player, and the one thing that he has above anyone is this mentality that he will continue to improve every single season. He's an absolute Trojan, and you're going to get the best of him now for the rest of his career, I'm sure. So enjoy him because he's an absolute monster of a footballer. Honestly, I really loved watching him at Wolves, and I'm glad to see he's doing really well.
Yeah, brilliant. Well said, mate. Yeah, we are very, very grateful. I know Mick, you when we signed him, Mick texted me immediately, just like, "Oh my god, I can't believe we've got him." Because obviously the signing came out of nowhere. We were all very, very shocked about. We'd been clambering for Thiago for months and months and months, and that happens. Then 24 to 48 hours later, we get Diogo Jota, and I remember Mick just texting me like Jota with like 50 exclamation marks. And
you know what though? Honestly, it goes to your recruitment because I think it was a bit left field as well. It wasn't an obvious signing for someone to make. As a title-winning side. To try and improve. Thiago, as an example, would have been someone people would have highlighted as, you bring him in because he's a Champions League, level player and whatnot. But Jota was a little bit, from left field, like I say. But he's been identified as someone who fits the system. He's got the right mentality to play for Liverpool, and Klopp clearly sees all the right ingredients there. So well done to the recruitment team again, for sure.
Absolutely. Go on, Mick.
Yeah, well, I can only echo that. Like nine goals in 16 appearances. Like he's exceeded every expectation. Like I think we expected him maybe to come in and be like a backup. I think we see him, didn't we, as a backup to the front three. And the fact that he's come in and put in the performances he has, like the game against Atalanta where he gets a hat trick, where he was just absolutely unbelievable. Like those type of performances have really surprised me because obviously I've seen him a lot for Wolves, but it's different when you. Like you said, you put him into a team where you create so many chances, and he is such a natural goal scorer. He's always in the right place, the right time, and he's a bit like Fowler in a way, Robbie Fowler, the way he finishes. Like it looks like he scuffs it, but he knows what he's doing. He just hits the back of the net more often than not. So, yeah, like you said, like recruitment wise, only just turned 24. He could be, he's one of the best in the league now, but he could be one of the best in the world over the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, for sure.
100%, mate. Well, listen, I could talk all night to you about Wolves and the game, mate, but I just think I don't want to talk about the game anymore. But listen, thank you so much, Gullah, for joining us, mate. We really, really appreciate it. And obviously, when the reverse fixture happens at Molineux, we'd love to have you back, mate, for another go, if that's all right with you.
For sure. Well, I'll be doing a little tactical review of the game in the next couple of days. That'll be available on the Wolves Fancast YouTube as well, so keep an eye out for that.
Make sure you check that out, guys. And he's got a fantastic blog as well called Musings from Molineux, and we've linked that in the Twitter feed as well. It's absolutely brilliant, so please check that out. As always, everybody, thank you very much for joining on the live show. It's been Jay, it's been Gullah, and it's obviously been Mick as well. We will look forward to seeing you next week when we start previewing Midtjylland. And Mick, see you next time, yeah?
Next time.